How's it going, guys? This is Game here. Most of y'all know me as CE Game. I just kind of wanted to. It's been almost, I would almost say 24 hours since the patch notes have been released. I wanted to give my input on it. We're just going to be going over like a general discussion, a fast glance, as you would say. I'm also joined here by Zainira.
Hi everybody, I'm Zainira. This is my first game for Diablo is Diablo 4, but I did try out Diablo 2 Resurrected for the first time yesterday. It was really fun and enjoyable. I have my ups and downs with it, so we're going to be just mostly going over Diablo 4 patch notes, but we'll see about something else later for that.
Okay, cool. And as we're glancing at all this, I'm going to pause for a little bit so y'all can kind of read it in case you haven't read it. If you haven't, I would definitely suggest going over and reading it yourself in case we go too fast for you, or you can also pause the video and then go over it yourself. The general bug fixes and the dungeons and events and activities. I don't know if you wanted to talk about anything on that. I'm kind of like, all of this stuff should have been fixed a long time ago. Yeah. I don't know how you feel.
I'm pretty sure most of that, yes, it should have been fixed a long time ago, as well as I just have my nitpicks of I've pulled out to kind of go over at the end of this, so.
Right. Gameplay fixes and fixing issues. If you want to glance at a lot of this, as it says, fix an issue where spider host enemies would remain upright after exploding and dying. I'm kind of just confused at why that was in there in the first place, but then again, since it's been there, does it bother you?
I thought it was directly normal. Like, it explodes, it kind of like opens up, it's stuck in its upright position, and spiders come out of it. I didn't see an issue with this. This was more of we had to fix it because the artists were supposed to meant for it to be laying down, but I think this could have been something that was fixed later on.
Right. And again, like, I think a lot of this stuff, like, as you glance over and read it, you're just kind of like, wow, kind of amazed that this stuff wasn't, fixed the first time when you were reading it. Rogue players would remain invisible to other players after using, a skill and feels of hatred. It's just like, what? Yeah, it's just, you would think they would fix the stuff. I mean, we had an alpha, we had a beta, we had a server slam, how much does it take? And we're kind of getting overwhelmed at this point. We had 13 plus pages of documents and patch notes and hot fixes, and it's just like, what?
Very, very overwhelming, especially for a new game that has had all those pre-done things, and I thought they would have fixed this stuff by now, but as we can see, they just got around to it.
Yeah, and as you're reading down a lot of this stuff, you're not really seeing any quality of life fixes. I'm not seeing any search options. I'm not seeing any. Yes, they did release a teleport to dungeon, your nightmare dungeon. That's cool. I'm still amazed that didn't automatically happen, because when you consume it, you would think it would pop up, and then you would just click on it, and apparently they just fixed that. Okay, cool. All the local stuff, if you're playing a lot of locally, I understand. The questing is just kind of laughable when you read through a lot of this stuff. I don't know if you want to talk about anything in there, really.
I will say that there is probably a lot more questing stuff that needs to be fixed just in general, because I'm glad they fixed most of this. But if you're 100%er, like some people are, as myself, where I want to complete the whole thing, I want to do all the quests they have, this would be a problem. Yes.
Right. Going down, we're in UI now. Let's just talk about the fact that in the UI, there's an option when you hover over chat, when you would click down, you're supposed to be able to click down on an item that someone links to you. You don't supposed to be able to click on the chat and the whole chat pops up, and then you start typing in chat while fighting something. Apparently they finally fixed that issue. That's insane, but good. To me, that's one of the biggest, yes, good job. I'm really happy that was something that was fixed. Um, Basically, getting the GPU and other things working, as in the game is working smoother. I'm glad those things are being addressed and looked at. They also said they probably won't fix all of those problems until Season 2. So we'll probably be waiting another 4 months after July, just to get those fixes to come in. Let's see. We got miscellaneous things. We're looking at clans. Something they still haven't talked about through the notes since we glanced over it and read about it and everything else. We haven't found ways of fixing the issue of getting in contact with other people. Like, how many times have you been like playing or running through an event or something and you just don't see anyone to play with? Like, you feel like you're playing a solo game, you're playing by yourself, and out of nowhere there's like 3 necros that show up and you're like, oh wow, where did all you guys come from? What can I do to like chat with them faster? And it's like, by the time you talk to them, they're already like on a horse, they're away from you. You type in chat, they can't see what you're saying. There's no general chat, there's no
trade chat, there's no event chat, there's no nothing. And I feel like this is a big problem because you can go directly into your friends list and see who's around you, but you don't know what they're doing. You don't know if they're AFK in town. You don't know any of that stuff. And I feel like this is a big problem, especially in Helltide, when I come across the random tormented mysteries chest and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna pin this here while it's available in here, because we do know that they will move throughout the Helltide, depending just randomly. We haven't really got like a spawn timer on that or not, but if I can like be all like, hey, this is where it is, it's on like this little island or it's in this cave, that would be great, but I can't do that.
Right.
As for, like, I'm gonna go over, like, my pros and cons here for a second. One of them was the quest fix. I'm glad they got that done. I'm really glad that they got the bone wall fixed for the barbs getting stuck in them. I am gonna bring up a problem that I have seen several different times, though. I play Druid mostly, and I have the bear build going, and I have trampled into a fixed wall from a mob and gotten stuck and not been able to attack a weak wall point because the one doesn't exist. So it's like I got stuck in the weak point of the wall. So they need to fix that severely, especially if we're in a higher tier dungeon or nightmare dungeon. I'm really glad they did the Helltide upgrade where caches and crates and stuff do drop experience extra. I'm glad that they increased whatever drops from the Helltide roaming boss. I know we killed that a couple of times, and at first it was kind of difficult, and there was like nothing dropping from it. It was like one piece of gear, and it wasn't the best. I really hope they increase that a little bit, so they did. So glad to hear that. As for search bar stuff, I do think they need to fix that. Whether you're looking for something to do with a dungeon, you need to be able to look up affixes. It's just gear overall, all sorts of stuff needs search bars. When you're doing the campaign, cutscenes. I had so many cutscenes when I was playing with someone where you'd click on the NPC and the cutscene would literally skip to it, then skip out of it, and you could hear everything, but you couldn't see the cutscene. They need to fix that. I don't know what that is. Needs fixed. I think the wall in the room dungeon problem for teleportation, like when you're playing a dungeon, you clear out all the mobs in the first section and you run down like this hallway or thicket or whatever, and there's like a small section where it walls you in and you have to kill mobs or press switches. You run in there and it teleports you right into the front wall. That is a huge problem, especially if there's barrels or ruins on the ground and mobs are covering them, and you back up and all of a sudden everything goes off. You can't walk around it, you can't anything, all of a sudden you're just caught in the moment and you're like trying to move out of the way while dealing with all these mobs because they're now behind you instead of in front of you. That's a big problem. My other thing is like, what loot is overwhelming. Absolutely overwhelming in this game. I did not expect this to be such a big problem for me when I started the game. But you run into a dungeon every affix thing drops something. Mobs can drop legendaries, and all of a sudden you're having to teleport out mid-dungeon to deposit, drop, sell, scrap, whatever you have available on you. And I feel like that's a big, like, well, I'm not getting any gratification unless it's like one thing. And I understand them being all like, hey, we want to be able to give you gear and look through your gear and stuff like that, but I feel like it's almost too much. Like, maybe set it back a little bit. Like, oh, I ran across a 3 affixed elite. That dropped something. And maybe have it drop a little bit more of, like, blues or more materials or something. I don't know. It's just, it feels overwhelming with yellows. So overwhelming. And it could be anything from sacred to ancestral. I just feel so overwhelmed, and there's not enough room in the bags, and there's not enough a stash area. It's just, I don't know how you would even put that. It's just...
Yeah, my biggest take on it is I'm coming from Diablo 2, kind of an OG player, and there's no, like, slot machine reward feeling when you, like, kill a boss, you know, like, say 100 times or 1,000 times, and you finally get that one piece of gear you've been looking for, and you feel gratified for it. Where in this game, every time I kill something, I'm getting a rare or a legendary or a unique or something, and it's just like, you know, like, there's no awesome feeling.
There's no
it's
gratification.
just, yeah, there's no gratification. You're just getting everything kind of like thrown at you at 100 miles an hour. As you can see here, they're increasing experience in dungeons. I'm like, okay, that sounds okay, but I think you level up fast enough. They're basically making bosses and loot drops better. I'm just kind of over here like, do they need to be better? I think the Helltide boss that roams around, like, dropping better stuff, cool, but it should be harder if it's going to drop more stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, and the scaling in the game,
Oh, gosh. It's so difficult.
it definitely needs to
Fixed.
be fixed and looked at, and it's a little scary. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little scary to look at that and to not think that we're gonna end up in like a Diablo 3 Fallout. Don't, you know, quote me on that, but it's getting a little scary from my point of view and from my experience, and from, I mean, I've put several thousand hours into D3. I've put probably, I don't know, 50 hours or plus into D4. I've probably put, you know, couldn't even tell you how many hours into D2, and I can already tell you that we're really struggling to get stuff to work. I don't know if you wanted to say anything to that real quick.
It's just difficult for me to be able to walk into the world, be like level 70, just for the heck of it, 70 level. All of a sudden, all the creatures have this increase. They're automatically level 70. They have the extra armor, the extra health, the extra stuff, and what did I get? The only thing that's increasing anything on me is if I had a random piece of gear drop just randomly when I turned level 70, and it was level 70, and I put it on, and it helped me a little bit. You don't get any extra stuff from turning a level higher other than Paragon points, and when you had your skill tree before you turned level 50, it can be overwhelming, especially if you run into a large mob right afterwards, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, and I mean, my biggest thing is, I'm just gonna kind of end on this too, is the armor mechanic in the game. I don't know if anyone has even paid attention to it, but if you hover over armor, it'll tell you that 50% of your armor also contributes to your resistances, your damage reduction, and everything else. This is something that needs to be fixed, and the problem is it really can't be fixed because they balance the entire game off of armor and level scaling with armor. So until they fix this problem, which would be almost a complete rehaul, I don't know if resistances will ever be fixed or get completely better the way they should be. So, you know, thank you, Zainara, for your input there.
Of course.
And, you know, this is going to be game here, and we're going to be outie. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to check me out on Twitch. Thanks a lot.